Hello. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Mudar Zahran, Secretary General of the Jordanian Opposition. Former U.S. Department of State veteran. I have served with the U.S. Department of State. I no longer have any kind of work, a connection to the U.S. government. I represent my movement and not any other government. I represent the Jordanian or Palestinian heritage. I represent more than 90% of Jordan's population, in fact, with indications of close to 95% Jordanians of Palestinian heritage. I'm a man dedicated into one mission, peace and ending the Arab Israeli conflict. And I can say this time and again, for me, Jews and Palestinians slash Jordanians are like both my eyes in my head. Asking anyone asking me to choose between them is like asking me to choose one of my eyes over the other. On this conquest of peace, the only weapon that shall set us all free is knowledge. Most of what you see in mainstream media is narishkeit or nonsense, stupidity. This is why I agreed to appear with someone like you who's knowledgeable, cares to at least do the research, and at the same time willing to listen to different opinion.
Thank you. So, can you tell the viewers a little bit about what is the significance of Jordan in all of this?
Jordan is very significant. Most Americans and most Jews, the American Jews, for example, they don't exactly know what's the deal with Jordan or how important the country is. In fact, it's one of the most significant places on earth. There's something that I keep repeating in all of my interviews, which is the point of gravity. The point of gravity of the world is the Middle East, and the point of gravity of the Middle East is the Levant, as in Jordan, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Israel, Lebanon. And the point of gravity of the Levant is Jordan. When you say Jordan, most Americans think of this very nice English, British English speaking king and his beautiful Palestinian wife. Well, it's not exactly what you see, is not what you get in the Middle East. Not exactly what you see here. Let me start. Jordan's king is fully connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. This has been documented, and as always, I challenge my interviewers, you included, to ask me for evidence, to tell me, okay, could you please provide quote and evidence, quote the source? Anything I say in this interview, ask me for a source. I would be happy to quote it. I've done a couple PhDs, and therefore I've become, a walking library of the conflict, not because I'm smart, but because I've spent so much time looking through classified and unclassified documents than anyone I personally know. That said, Jordan's king is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. He's cooperated with the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood to Jordan's king is what the MAGA movement, Republican Party is to Trump, what the Likud is to Netanyahu, and so forth. The king, according to his own words and his wife's own word, Jordan's king says that the Jordan Muslim Brotherhood is a part of his regime. So the regime in Jordan is the Jordan Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas, the terror group which has been butchering both Palestinians and Israelis, the terror group who was responsible for butchering hundreds and thousands, and actually more than 1,000 Israelis on the 7th of October, that group, quote unquote, is literally, officially, quote unquote, the Muslim Brotherhood Palestine chapter of Jordan. Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood Palestine chapter. So Hamas, are under the full control of Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood. And Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood is under the full control of Jordan's king. In fact, just use Google images. Hamas leaders are frequent visitors to Jordan's king. Hamas thanked Jordan 2 days ago when they delivered those, those very poor hostages. The Hamas leaders were wearing, the Hamas militants, terrorists, were wearing the red keffiyeh, which is Jordan's king keffiyeh, and they said, "Oh, we would like to thank Jordan." The Queen of Jordan, so-called Queen of Jordan, Queen of nothing, she started Uh, we lost the connection there. She started thanking the Muslim Brotherhood in an interview on the 3rd of November 2016. I can go on and on and on and on. Jordan is the Muslim Brotherhood. Jordan is the main reason Jordanians, because of the Hashemite regime, people don't understand that Jordan is 78% of Palestine. People don't understand that we Palestinians already have a country. We have a state. We have a capital. We have our own currency. We have our own soccer team. We have our own flag. It's called Jordan. Make Jordan Palestinian again. The only problem was materialized just the other day. Yesterday, Jordan's king made an appearance on television with a few statesmen telling them that Jordan is not Palestine. We will never, quote unquote, allow the resettling of Palestinians into Jordan. We would never, quote unquote, allow the naturalization of Palestinians in Jordan who are already citizens. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard a so-called king saying that his own subjects, the nationals of his country, are not actually nationals? How does that even make sense? At the same time, he said that he will never tolerate, quote unquote, Jordan becoming Palestine or immigration of Palestinians. Jordan is my country. Could someone explain to me where on earth would someone be prevented from traveling into his own country? These are facts most of you didn't think about. The idea of President Trump, I think, was initiated by President Trump's advisors, particularly Jared Kushner, his nephew, his son-in-law. Jared Kushner, he had an interview at the JFK School of Government, I think almost a year ago, and everything Kushner was talking about was not only true about Gaza, it's now President Trump's policy. That said, it was very impressive. Gaza, most Gazans are refugees. They are not native Gazans. They moved to Gaza from areas in Palestine prior to Israel's independence. Those areas in Palestine were declared Jordanian areas by the Hashemite kingdom, even though they never controlled some of them or most of them. They still said that this is sovereign, quote unquote, sovereign Jordanian kingdom's our area. So people, according to Jordanian law, which is still in effect today, article number 3, and I keep repeating this on and on and on, so people might get this, attached to their memory somehow. According to article number 3 of the Jordanian Citizenship Act, all Palestinians except Jews, except the way Palestinian Jews, are born Jordanians. So we have a country. You're talking right of return. We have the right of return to Jordan. You call it statehood. We have the right of a statehood. We already have a state in Jordan. There's the issue of Al-Aqsa, the Temple Mount. And for those Americans listening to you who don't understand what the problem is, problem is we have Islam's third holiest site, which happens to be Jews' first and only top holiest site, the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount, fast forward into today, the Muslims took over the Temple Mount 1400 years ago. They turned it into our mosque, our third holiest site. I went there and prayed like dozens of times. There's a little problem. There's a little building that was constructed by a Jewish man who converted to Islam. It was constructed exactly at the spot where the holiest of holies, the Temple Mount, was built. So you have the Temple Mount, and next to it is a very uniquely beautiful structure with the golden dome. It's called the Dome of the Rock, which we believe our prophet has ascended exactly from that spot into heavens and met God. Whether you believe in that or not, it's our belief. People have to respect other people's belief. But at the same time, we have to respect and acknowledge the Jews' right to worship. Let me quote some Islamic history here. The Jews, in the eyes of Muslims, are monotheists. They believe in one God. We Muslims identify, according to the Quran, that, quote unquote, we believe in the God of Moses. So we believe in the God of Moses. And I won't waste your viewers' time with too much history, but when Prophet Muhammad launched his religion, the first counterclaim was, quote unquote, this man wants us to worship the God of the Jews. So we worship basically the same God. There's no point in preventing Jews from praying on the Temple Mount. This is why we have so many problems over Al-Aqsa Mosque. The reason we have so many problems over Al-Aqsa Mosque is because they want to pray there and we are preventing them. But who is preventing them? It's not me who is preventing them. The one preventing them is the king of Jordan. Jordan's king, ironically, has sovereignty over Al-Aqsa Mosque, preventing Jews from praying and stirring trouble, according to statement made by the Israeli government itself. This man has a lot of sway, and he's working with sinister actors. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of the difference between Shiite and Sunni Muslims.
Yep. Not the finer
You
details,
real
but
you
yeah.
you realize that Iran is Shiite. It's a completely different religion. I have no contempt or disrespect for followers of any faith, as long as they don't hurt other people. But the Shiite religion is not Islam. It's a completely different religion based on ancient Persian religion and many other concepts that don't relate to Islam. Yes, they claim to be Muslim, but they're not. It's fine. They can argue to be anything, but they are different faith, different denomination at best. King of Jordan is a Shiite. Most people don't realize that the Hashemite family, the royal family of the Hashemite, they claim to be descendants of the Prophet. They claim to be descendants of the Prophet's cousin. His name is Ali. And therefore, they are, quote unquote, the only ones worshiping or ruling the world. That's what they claim. That's Shiite religion. So the king is Shiite. And I have bad news for people who think the king is a jolly British man. The king, the Shiite king, is very aligned, totally aligned with Iran. Some might say, come on, the king with Iran. Yes, the king is aligned with Iran. There's plenty of evidence. Use Google, type quote unquote, and I'm giving you the title of the piece. It's official, Jordan's and Iran are allies now, by Eddie Cohen, J-Post, Jerusalem Post newspaper. It gives full details of how Jordan and Iran have been working together. And this is where Americans need to wake up. There's a very sinister part in recent American history when it comes to Iran. And I'm sorry if I'm offending a few people here, but it is what it is. For me, you get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Who supported Iran? Who turned Iran into this monster? This is a small country. Yes, it's big, but it's nothing comparing to the United States, Canada, China. Iran was empowered, tolerated, propped up by China. The real enemy is China. China is, I'm not telling you go kill the Chinese. No. In fact, I've been to China. Some of the smartest people I've met in my world. And the Chinese leadership, especially the President Xi, this guy is a genius. You can talk forever about his ingenious about ruling this country and making it the model it is today. But we need to be clear. China has its own interests, and China has propped up the following country and controls them. China controls Iran. China has a military base in the most critical point in the Hormuz Strait, 40,000 Chinese military and intelligence officers. China has a defense pact with Iran. China is the only reason Israel has to think twice before attacking Iran. China controls Egypt. China controls the president of Egypt, and he's indebted to China. Vast money he's borrowed from China. Vast money the king of Jordan borrowed from China just for no reason, because the U.S. was offering always aid and money, but he still borrowed the money from China and put us under the Chinese trap, in the Chinese trap. And above all of that, these are the following countries where China is well situated. United Arab Emirates, of all countries. United Arab Emirates, who almost built a Chinese military base in 2022, and the U.S. protested that on television. You have Qatar, Iran, Syria until recently, until the regime was toppled. Iraq, with all of its vast wealth. Iraq was given on a silver platter to Iran/China by the Bush administration. Americans are the most intelligent, in my opinion, most capable, most hardworking, most honest people I've met in my life. Growing up in New Hampshire, I've never met someone as hardworking as the average American. There's a lot America can be proud of, but America has been plagued by traitors who empower China on purpose. This will provoke a lot of people, but I say it as it is. I've been called at several points the Jordanian or Palestinian Trump. Fine, I've never been more proud, but it's the most pleasant compliment I've received in my life, being called Trump. I wish I was Trump, but that said, I will be my country's Trump. That said, again, Bush Senior is the one who started this whole China empowerment business. You think Chinese economic marvel is a Chinese economic boom? It's actually just American money shipped to China. You even subsidize Chinese import, the freight. You even subsidize the freight. You paid for the freight. You got all of the products stolen from you, the technology stolen from you with you knowing it. And instead of having American workers working for American companies, you moved it to Chinese companies where you sat home with no jobs while Chinese people thrived. You can't blame China for that. China was smart. They took advantage of it, too, and they still do. Fast forward to today, since the Bush doctrine, then the Bush Jr. doctrine. Bush Jr. doctrine was a disaster. Bush Jr. occupied Iraq and handed Iraq on a silver platter to Iran. No one could argue with me in that because I was working for both the American embassies in Baghdad and Amman, Jordan, and I've seen it firsthand. I remember my colleagues giving me the look like, what the hell is going on? They can't talk about it. I definitely cannot say what I saw there unless I want to, get face, trial something. I can't disclose any kind of information. But what I can say is everyone was, shaking their head like, what the hell? Why are we empowering Iran? Why are we letting Iran take over Iraq, one of the richest countries in the world? Fast forward to today, you need to understand it's in China's best interest to keep the Arab-Israeli conflict for as long as possible. That's why when the leader of China met with Arab rulers 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago, the first thing he said before saying good morning was, we need to support Palestine and the Palestinians' right to liberate themselves. This whole support Palestine is a sham. This whole it's a political Ponzi scheme. They want to keep the conflict going for as long as possible, while my people pay the price as cannon fodder, and the Israeli Jewish people getting killed over nothing. We both have suffered enough, and it's time we end the Arab-Israeli conflict, given that we are facing a very serious enemy. That serious enemy is China. China is not the Soviet Union. China is progressive, and China simply shrewdly took advantage of the situation. China now is building something, and again, you can all use Google, called the Road and Belt Initiative. They're reviving the Silk Road. They're controlling the trade routes of the world. And if you follow points of conflict around the world, what's really going on, you will find exactly it matches that exact route. So that's why they wanted Gaza. And this is why, again, Trump is not, many people think that Trump is a fool. You can't become a fool, be a fool, and become a billionaire. You can't be a fool and become the president of the United States twice, despite everything. This is a very, very intelligent man, whether you like him or not. Trump, when he says that we want to control Gaza, you need to look at the map. Gaza is at the focal point of the entire Middle East. So Gaza is the point of gravity of the entire point of gravity because Gaza connects three continents together: Europe, Africa, and particularly the Middle East, and of course the Eurasia in general. So it's the main route, the main trade route, all pass through Gaza. It's a very hot point. If you control it, keep it stable, you keep everyone else stable. And the key to Gaza is in Jordan. It might sound too much to absorb, but let's make it simple. Without change in Jordan, you there will never be a way to kill the Muslim Brotherhood, because the Muslim Brotherhood HQ is in Jordan. It's 3 miles away from the king's own private mansion. You will never be able to end the fake conflict on the Temple Mount, because according to Islam, any faith could pray inside the mosque except idol worshippers. When Muhammad had Christian Catholic Catholics visiting the mosque, Islam's second holiest site, he allowed them to pray to Jesus inside his mosque. How are we not allowing our monotheist Jewish brothers and sisters to pray to God in their holiest site and our third holiest site? You get rid of the king of Jordan, you get rid of his control over the Waqf, over the Temple Mount, over the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and we get a new chapter. And then we get the right of return. One of the things about peace process, they tell you, okay, so what you going to do about the Palestinians in Syria and Iraq and elsewhere? They have a place they can call home. They have a place where they are legally able to return. The problem is with the king. He's denying them entry. Believe it or not, the Jordanians of Palestinian heritage in Syria, living in Syria, the whole Jordanian passports, when the civil war broke out, the king banned them from entry. I know someone, and I can quote the last name, from the Mechemar family, Jordanian Palestinian, who happened to live in Syria when the war broke out. He's a Jordanian national. He lives, and I'm giving exact dates so you can verify the story. He lives in an area in Damascus called Kabun, Al-Qabun. His 3 little kids got killed by Assad, all under age 10, because Jordan's king denied them return, just a right of return to the country they hold passport from, Jordan. Why is nobody talking about it? Why is everyone so obsessed with the Jews? Why is everyone so obsessed about the car accident in Gaza? Why everyone is so obsessed about there's a huge amount of death that took place in Gaza? But we all know, I can authoritatively tell you, I'm not a kiss up to Israel, but I can tell you the truth. Israel doesn't pay me. Israel doesn't give me anything. I don't need Israel. You can ask about my financial situation and find out who exactly I am. I don't need money from anyone. That said, Hamas used to hide behind children, buses, ambulances. Hamas, I have the evidence. I've documented this big time. So why is everyone so obsessed with Jews and Israel and not even caring to mention the King of Jordan? You can go into any mainstream media in the United States and you can trash Jews all you want. We also, the so-called Queen of Jordan, Queen Rania, she did 5 different interviews in the past year, 2024, on U.S. national television, where she said the most horrifying things about Jews and Israel. Much of it was not true. That said, she still has the gateways of mainstream media open for her. Try going to the mainstream media, and I've been over all mainstream media. Try going there and badmouthing the King of Jordan. So why is it so kosher, so okay to demonize Jews, while the King of Jordan is held holier than thou? The reason is because a lot of globalist forces want to keep that man in place, because if you keep him in place, you know that there will never be peace and there will never be an end to the Arab-Israeli conflict.
Got it. You said while you were speaking, make Jordan Palestine again. When was Jordan Palestine? What is its significance specifically to Palestinian people?
Okay. There was never a country called the United Arab Emirates. There was never a country called Qatar, and never a country called Libya. Libya was Tunis. There was never a country called Kuwait, and there was never a country called Lebanon. Lebanon never existed. It was the Mount of Lebanon. This is the handiwork of British and French colonialists and their pencils and their maps they've drawn while sipping whiskey and French wine. That's probably why it looks so stupid. But in reality, they created a situation which would sustain conflict for as long as possible. So they created this land called Palestine. There was a Palestine, but it wasn't Palestine. It was called Bayt al-Maqdis, Imarat Bayt al-Maqdis, the Emirate of Bayt al-Maqdis, Beit HaMikdash. Beit HaMikdash is a Hebrew name, a Hebrew word, which means the holy house. In Islam, it means also Bayt al-Maqdis, the holy house, which is also a reference to the temple. That's what it was used to be called in Islam. The minute the British came, the minute they rolled in their armored vehicles in 1917, they changed the name into 2021. They changed the name into Palestine, an ancient Roman name, and we were never called Palestinians before that. I can go into the ethnic makeup or the DNA makeup of Palestinians, and many of you would be surprised to learn that most Palestinians are of Jewish heritage, with a study confirming 82% of Palestinians were Jews. So that's what I can assure you, that the majority of Palestinians were Jews because Palestine, or Beit HaMikdash, or Beit al-Maqdis, was actually a Jewish majority country. Britons come and they label a country called, they draw a map and they call it the British Mandate for Palestine. Again, people can use Google and look it up. British Mandate for Palestine included all of what's today's Israel and all of what's today's Jordan. Then the Britons decided to cut away 78% of Palestine and give it to a foreign king from Saudi Arabia. His name is the Hashemite, King Abdullah. And this where the problem was incepted. Today, in reality, west of the river is Jewish Palestine, known as Israel, and east of the river is Muslim or Arab Palestine, known as Jordan. There's only one person who would not recognize that, is the King of Jordan. There has been enough treaties to confirm that Jordan is actually the Arab Palestine, the Sevres, the San Remo, and even an agreement signed by the Hashemites themselves in 1919, the Faisal-Weizmann agreement, that Jordan would become like, it wasn't actually called Jordan. Jordan was not a country. Jordan used the Palestinian currency up until 1951, even after Palestine no longer existed. They used the Palestinian passport until 1949. They were never recognized by the United Nations until 1955. So, we have a country, only everyone chooses to overlook it and look at it, and we still suffering. Let me add something. A lot of people claim to love us so much that, they have a problem with everything Israel does with us, good or bad. In reality, in Jordan is the only remaining apartheid country in the world. For those who don't know the term apartheid, it's a segregation system. Jordan is a complete segregation system against the majority Palestinians in Jordan. We live pretty much like slaves. I can go on and on. We don't have any rights. And just the other day, or actually yesterday, the king-elect of Jordan made a speech on national television attacking us, claiming that la للتوطين, no for naturalization, which means Jordanian citizens will never be considered citizens. So nobody looks at our plague. I'll sum it up. If a Jordanian of Palestinian heritage is attacked by someone on the street, say someone with a knife, they would never report it to the police, because if you enter the police as a Jordanian Palestinian, if you go to the precinct to the police station, suddenly you get locked up for no reason because you're Palestinian. So this whole thing is, we've had enough. The majority Palestinian in Jordan have had enough. They want the king gone, and I'm quoting them, and I'm going to say it in Arabic and English. بيحكوا يا ريت نتنياهو يحكمنا. They keep using this term. For God's sake, wouldn't Netanyahu just come and rule Jordan and let us go? They've had enough. You don't hear that in television. You hear people chanting for Hamas. You see all kind of nonsense. Anyone with connections on the ground, Israeli, non-Israeli, regardless of who or what they are, would know that this is not the case.
Why
People have had enough.
why does the king of Jordan treat Palestinian Jordanians so poorly? What is it to retain a grapple hold on the region that excludes Palestinians, that is more like centered towards Hashemites, or what's the deal?
Because I can quote a U.S. Embassy Jordan cable. It's a U.S. Embassy report or cable or intelligence cable, if you may, if you wish to call it that. It's it's a secret, classified, and it was written around the time I was still working for the U.S. Embassy. The cable is available on WikiLeaks. Was leaked there. The cable states the following: that quote unquote the Hashemite kingdom, the Hashemite kings, the Hashemite family rule in Jordan, is a foreign family, a non-Jordanian family that's always scared of tribal coup. They're scared of a tribal coup because they are a family of less than 70 individuals. That's when you count their in-laws, like not even the family members. So less than 70 individuals ruling more than 12 million people, of which the majority, more than 11 million people, of which the majority are Palestinian. So Palestinians, basically, if they sneeze, they can do away with the Hashemite family. We had an episode in 1970. Let me just educate those who are stupidly keep claiming that, oh, in 1970, you see what the Palestinians did to the Jordanians, and that shows how bad. In 1970, both the U.S. and Israel were supportive of a Palestinian takeover of Jordan because Henry Kissinger, in a leaked White House document, not leaked, actually, unclassified White House document, told Nixon, wrote to Nixon, that this is a huge chance for, quote unquote, a Palestinian settlement in Jordan. It's only that King Hussein convinced Nixon somehow, and I'm not going to get into the details of that, President Nixon to not allow it to happen. And I don't know about President Nixon, but I've heard that he was not exactly in love with Israel. Not against Israel, but not in love with it. So that said, we control the country because the Hashemites have no chance. And they're loyalists like the Gypsy family. I have nothing against Gypsies, but I'm saying those who are loyal to the Hashemites are the minorities, less than 400,000 people. They include the Gypsies. They include what you call in America the travelers, which is okay. It's fine. I've got traveler friends over here in the UK, and include the Chechens, the Circassians, every minority you can think of. He brought up together and turned them into his army. Those people have always had no chance with the majority Palestinian. And the king of Jordan had to import the Pakistani army to fight the Palestinians. Could you tell me how many Palestinians have died in Gaza recently?
It's up a little past 40,000, including combatants, right? I haven't checked in a while.
Close to 50,000. When you find the new people, they find them under the rubble, and close to 50,000. In how long? More than a year.
Yep.
Almost a year and a half.
October 2023, yep.
King Hussein and the Pakistani army butchered up to 60,000 Palestinians in the span of 7 days, back in 1970. Wow. Why is no one calling King Hussein a war criminal? Why is the Pakistani army not being called a criminal for attacking the Palestinians? Why is the Pakistani army not apologizing for doing that? Why is Netanyahu being called a war criminal when actually the real war criminal in Jordan, the head of the Pakistani army who butchered Palestinian children, rolled his tanks over Palestinians' homes in the refugee camps with the families inside, burned entire families alive inside their homes in 1970. Many of my relatives got killed. Why this man, the head of the Pakistani army who did that, was never called out when he became the president of Pakistan? A war criminal, a ruthless war criminal, became the president of Pakistan. You didn't even hear about this. But everyone is busy calling out the Jews. Everybody's being demonizing the Jews. It's the new anti-Semitism model, anti-Semitism 2.0. Quote unquote. I don't hate the Jews. I'm not anti-Semitic. I just, I just love the Palestinians. Well, you can go to hell and stay there. You don't love us. You just hate the Jews, and you want my people to keep suffering, my people to keep getting killed and fighting. They only love the Palestinians when the Palestinians fight Jews. They only love the Palestinians when they are martyrs. We've had enough, and I'm not speaking for myself. I have enough track record to prove my influence. The majority of the Palestinians in Jordan, in Syria, in Lebanon, and in Gaza support my ideas. The problem is only in the West Bank. We have close to 3 million Palestinians who have been brainwashed like crazy and who really, really would love to butcher the Jews and burn them alive. No question about that. So we do have a problem, but let's, identify where the good and bad and ugly are.
Do you feel that your people are weaponized and kind of used like a token by Western liberals and leftists to kind of um, like they use like diaspora Palestinians as sort of like, look at this should justify achieving my goals, and then it's kind of like drop and we don't care anymore after.
Okay, I couldn't hear the last sentence he said.
It seems to me, and tell me if you feel this way, that Western liberals and leftists kind of use Palestinians as this thing to pick up and put down whenever they feel like it, to achieve their goals. It's sort of weaponized.
Um, do I look stupid to you?
No.
Just answer my question.
Nope.
Don't ask me if I'm stupid, because I'm not stupid. None of those people care for the Palestinians. And on top of it, none of the liberals are doing it for free. Whenever you see an organized movement of ideology, you would know money is behind it. There's organized movements of protest, which make sense, like the MAGA movement. You didn't have to agree with the MAGA movement, but you would, when you listen to what they want, you would understand that, oh, someone might want that, whether you agree with it or not. But when you watch the liberals saying all kind of stupid crap, stupid claims, which don't even make sense, how persistent, how well organized, how they turn out, how they manage the whole thing, there's money behind it. And we know exactly where the money comes from. The money, and this is not a conspiracy theories. You can go after each of those organizations, and you're legally able to find out where they get their donations, and you will see that it's all politicized. This is this is a weapon, a political weapon being used against Jews, against Trump, against Israel, and against the world, because the globe would benefit if we end the Arab-Israeli conflict. We're all going to be having a very good time, much better time if we end the Arab-Israeli conflict. We would have not had 9/11 if that scumbag bin Laden wasn't so convinced, according to his own words. And let me quote that piece of crap. He said on television right after 9/11, America will never experience safety before and calm before Palestinians experience it. Suddenly, that man became so interested in Palestinians. So without the Arab-Israeli conflict, we would have avoided a lot of bloodshed, a lot of trouble, and we would have reached peace and prosperity in the Middle East. They don't want that. They want to keep propping up that. They want to keep using it. Nobody believes him anymore. And here let me say a close word to my people, the Palestinians in America. Some of them, many of them, do actually watch your stuff, and they know who you are. So I'm saying this word to my brothers and sisters. You were born in the safety of New Jersey. Your father could be a physician, could be a college professor, or could be a mechanic. Whatever he is, he's making way more money than most people on the face of this planet. From the safety of your couch in New Jersey, where your mother is preparing some hummus and you're watching the TV in the living room and commenting on Twitter how we should free Palestine and how the Gazans want to fight to the end, and that we would never, quote unquote, give up Palestine, even if the last Palestinian has to go, I suggest you shut the hell up, because you wouldn't survive if the internet was cut off. And you're expecting Gazans to survive in tents. You're expecting Gazans to survive with no running water, no electricity, all brought on them by Hamas. You expect them to survive and fight to the end, while you are getting your doctor to write off Ozempic for you so you can lose weight. This is nonsense, and I hate to say this. This is not only an act of stupidity by Muslims and Arabs, many Muslims and Arabs in the West. This is an act of treason. If you love Gazans, give them what they want. Give them the chance to move somewhere else. You wouldn't stay, for God's sake. If you have a water leak, you wouldn't stay in your flat, your apartment. And you're asking them to stay in a demolition site? Hypocrisy stinks. And the most stinking hypocrites are the ones who call themselves Palestinians and Arabs living in the West.
So I have an interesting question. So we spoke the other day on Adam King's panel, and you said that you have the death sentence in Jordan. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Or maybe I misheard you.
I couldn't hear you well. Did you say death sentence or life sentence?
Which was it? One of the was it life sentence or death sentence?
It's a life sentence by the King of Jordan.
Okay, life sentence. Tell me about that. You said that you have the life sentence in Jordan. Tell me about that.
I was sentenced by first of all, there are opposition activists and opposition figures in Jordan. I'm the only one who was sentenced to life in prison. The best they get is like 2 or 3 years, 1 year in jail. I'm the only one who was sentenced to life in prison in absentia by a military court in Jordan for the following charges. 1, bad mouthing the king. The official title of the charge, quote unquote, is having a long tongue against the king. I'm not kidding. Google it.
Wow.
The second one is seeking to change the society structure. 3rd, criticizing an official state entity. 4th, writing for Israeli newspapers. 5, I forgot what it was, but it's something about seeking to cause unrest in the society. So this is an example. This is now okay. No, it takes no hero, my friend. This doesn't make me a hero. This is the least I can do for my people. My people are the Palestinians, so-called Arabs, and the Jews. They are my people, both my people. Both belong to that land. Whether they agree or disagree, they both stuck together in the land, east of the river and west of the river. I want them both safe and sound. It's the least I can do. I take no pride in this, because anyone with the minimum amount of self-respect and soul in my position would have done it. At the same time, this is a lesson to you, to people like you, and people who always say, okay, so if the majority of Muslims are normal, kind people, why don't they speak up? I spoke up. I spoke up for peace. I spoke up for peace. I criticized the Islamic text, like the book of Hadith, which are mostly crazy, mostly insane, terrorist, radical, misogynistic, inhumane, biblically medieval, worse than medieval ideology. I criticized that, and look what I got. My life was, I wouldn't call it ruined, but everything I used to have is gone. My dad is dying. My dad has been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and that disease does get to you at the end and kill you, whether you think it wouldn't. No matter how much you think it's safe, it does kill at the end. I haven't seen my dad for 15 years. Haven't smelled the scent of my dad's hair or my dad's hand for 15 years. My kids have been taunted They've done everything. I have to my all my kids go to three different schools. Four kids. They all go to four different schools. Why? Because of security reasons. I have to use different cars when I travel. I can't travel in the same car twice. Very disturbing security details. I can't sit at the cafe and have lunch. I'm not afraid of terrorists. I'm afraid of the King of Jordan and his intelligence. And I can give you a lot of drama Netflix material about two assassination attempts, assassination plots, not attempts. They were shut down, and I owe it to the Israelis. They helped me in 2014, and I owe it to both the British security agencies for protecting me and my family. That's why I will be indebted to Britain with my life for the rest of my life. No drama involved. They've ruined my life. They screwed my life up and the life of my children. They've confiscated the family's wealth, all because I spoke up for peace. So now, do you wonder why not many Muslims would do the same?
Yeah, of course. It actually makes a lot of sense now. I didn't know that. So it's illegal in Jordan to write for an Israeli newspaper.
In theory, the laws which would still get you indicted for communication with Israel are still there.
Wow.
The king, it's like a monopoly. He's the one. He's allowed. He's the only one allowed to speak to the Jews or the Israelis, but everyone else is not allowed. So this is what you get in a dictatorship, especially a medieval dictatorship. And Abdullah, this man is very unique. Again, there is enough documentation of his character and who he is. But let me sum it up. This man is openly dependent on the Muslim Brotherhood. His theory is, as long as I control the Muslim Brotherhood, it's like, imagine if you own the toughest pit bull in the neighborhood. Like you're in the neighborhood and everyone's scared of your ex-large pit bull, and anyone who messes with you, you just unleash the pit bull and the only one who can control it. This is how he's been doing business for 25 years. His main focus is not the peace with Israel. And by the way, just that you know, the Jordanian embassy staff has left Israel some time ago, close to 2 years ago now.
Wow.
So there isn't, for those fools who keep saying, oh, Jordan is our ally. You didn't know, Jack. You didn't know, Jack. You didn't know anything just for saying that.
How do you see relations with Israel? Let's say you were the president of Jordan, and the king was no longer in power. How do you see relations with Israel and the resolution of the conflict?
It's very simple. It doesn't take a genius. My people travel a good 6,000 miles to be in the United States for the wealth, prosperity, peace, opportunity. Well, we have a very prosperous piece of the United States right next door called Israel. My view is one, we're not going to chase, a Mudar place, a happy place that doesn't exist. First, we have people to be re-educated. People are brainwashed with radical Islam, the book of Hadith, a lot of crazy stuff. So everyone has this seed for an ISIS inside them, and we need to get rid of that. So I will start. First of all, I don't believe we can introduce democracy quickly. You wouldn't give the keys of a brand new Ferrari to a kid who just got their driver's license, unless you want a really bad accident. So democracy is going to be introduced only after we guarantee there's enough laws to ban the Muslim Brotherhood, ban the mother of all terror groups, the Muslim Brotherhood, criminalize Hamas, and declare them all as terror groups, and cut them off, stop their finances, confiscate their offices in Jordan, ban them completely, crack down on them. Then we would reestablish our education system, re-educate our people. We need to wait at least 15 years to get the whole new generation of tolerance and peace. We need to revise some of the so-called texts which are not in our holy book, the Quran, texts in the Hadith, We need to revise them like crazy books. Actually, I wouldn't say ban them, but I would say ban their access to schools. On top of it, then we can seek economic, political, and defense agreements with the state of Israel. We have been put down and let down by all most of our so-called Arab brothers. The only country that never let the Palestinians down was Saudi Arabia. Everyone else has at one point done a number on us for reasons or for no reasons. The only people we can trust, believe it or not, are the Israelis. Because even if they disagree with us, the Israelis are expected. You can expect them, what they're going to do tomorrow. You can't expect same with Arabs. And let me give you some stupid stories. Kuwait, Saddam Hussein occupied Kuwait. The government of Kuwait accused the Palestinians of supporting Saddam Hussein. How could they? They had no weapons. They barely made a living in Kuwait. It's a rich country which paid the Palestinians very little money just to make them survive. How is the Palestinians responsible for what Saddam Hussein did? And why do they choose to punish and expel the Palestinians and not the Jordanians? I'm Jordanian. King Hussein sided with Saddam Hussein. We have karma in only one country. The country that the Palestinians did actually destroy was Lebanon. There's no pride in what the Palestinians did to Lebanon. They've destroyed one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Arafat did that. On the other hand, we got dealt a very hard deal in Kuwait, in Iraq, in Yemen, and elsewhere for nothing we have done. Even in Libya, there were accusations that the Palestinians were. This is, the Palestinians have turned, and this is not the nicest thing to say for a politician. They've turned into like a public toilet. Whoever has quite a sticky situation can go inside and fix himself up. So we've had enough with that. I'm building a strong Palestinian Jordan, and it could only come with the help of God, then our Israeli brothers and sisters. And authoritatively, I can assure you, they want to help. All the Israelis want is not to have people kidnapping their babies and their children and killing them and butchering them in cold blood. It's not too much to ask and to think.
Absolutely. I think that was pretty much the last question that I had for you. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
Absolutely. I want to say these 3 sentences. عاشت أمة إسرائيل، عاشت الأمة الأردنية الفلسطينية. Long live Israel. Long live the nation of Israel. I'm Israel. Long live the Jordanian Palestinian nation. I'm Israel Chai. I'm Jordan Chai. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I think you chopped up a little there at the end. I just thought of one last question I have for you. What is the best way that Americans or people living in the West can help Palestinians, especially Americans? Is it establish a protesting campaign?
Please spread the gospel. Make Jordan Palestine again. Please spread the gospel. Help me. Tell them, please write my name and forward my videos to Congress and Senate members. Please, and Senate and Congress members. Please tell people about me and my movement. At least tell them that Jordan is Palestine. Make Jordan Palestine again. Pure and simple. MAGA.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mudar Zahran, you represent more Palestinians than probably any single person anywhere, yeah?
Indeed.
That's
Who
amazing.
does Abbas represent? Who does Hamas represent? You want to know who Hamas represents? Hamas represents 250,000 people in Gaza who happen to be Hamas and their family members, and they're leaving Gaza now. They're leaving Gaza at the rate of 200 per day. This is inside information. So nobody represents as many people as I do. I'm not going around. I'm not going away anytime soon. I'll stick around, and you will see more of me over the next few years. Just remember that this young fella interviewed me with some of the smartest questions. Thank you. God bless America again, my most beloved country ever. After Palestine, of course. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Have a good one, Mudar.